Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to completely dismantle everything you think you know about what it actually means to be wealthy in America. We are unpacking the groundbreaking research behind the Millionaire Next Door. And look, I promise you, by the time we wrap this up, the way you look at money, status, and honestly, even your own neighbors, it's going to completely change. Let's just dive right in with a quick story. So researchers were commissioned to study the habits of individuals worth over $10 million, right? They rented this posh Manhattan penthouse, laid out this lavish spread of vintage 1970 Bordeaux wine, gourmet caviar, the works. Well, the first econ millionaire to arrive, a guy they nicknamed Mr. Bud, takes one look at the spread and literally says, "I drink scotch and two kinds of beer, free and Budweiser." I mean, that completely shatters our Hollywood illusions of high-class consumption. And get this, during that entire 2-hour interview, not a single one of those decom millionaires touched the vintage wine or the caviar. It really just goes to show that our perception of the wealthy is totally skewed. So here is the absolute crucial points. Most of us fundamentally confuse two very different things: income and wealth. If you're pulling in a huge salary, but you're spending every last dime on country club memberships and expensive cars, you know what? You aren't actually getting wealthier. You're just living high. Wealth is definitely not what you spend to support a lavish lifestyle. Wealth is what you accumulate and keep. It's a massive difference, and honestly, it's the defining secret of America's affluence. To understand how ordinary people build these lasting fortunes, we're going to follow a data-driven roadmap to the reality of the millionaire next door. We'll cover the myth of wealth, the idea of big hat, no cattle, the wealth equation, the millionaire next door demographics, the importance of being frugal, and finally, playing financial defense. Section 1. The myth of wealth and big hat, no cattle. Let's take a look at how our visual expectations can completely blind us to financial reality. This brilliantly illustrates that classic Texas phrase, big hat, no cattle. See, researchers interviewed a trust officer who sported a $5,000 watch, drove a sleek imported luxury car, wore these expensive bespoke suits, but surprisingly, he actually didn't have much wealth. Now, contrast him with a true millionaire, a Texas business owner who rebuilds large diesel engines. This guy showed up in jeans, a buckskin shirt, and drove a 10-year-old car. The trust officer looks rich, sure, but he spends absolutely everything just to maintain that status. Meanwhile, the modest mechanic is the one holding the massive net worth. He doesn't own any big hats, but man, he has a whole lot of cattle. Moving on to Section 2, the wealth equation. We're going to calculate your net worth and figure out the hard mathematical truth of where you actually stand. Okay, this simple 3-step formula determines your expected net worth. And honestly, I dare you to calculate this for yourself right now. Here's what you do. Take your age, multiply it by your pre-tax annual household income. That's from all sources except inheritance. And then just divide that number by 10. That final number, that is exactly what your net worth should be right now. So once you have that number, you're going to fall into one of two categories. And it totally amazed me to learn this. If you have double that expected amount for your age and income, you are what they call a PAW, a prodigious accumulator of wealth. Think of Bubba, a mobile home dealer making about 90 grand a year, but who is worth well over $1 million. But on the flip side, if you have half or less of your expected wealth, you're UAW, an under-accumulator of wealth. That's someone like Mr. Ford, an attorney who actually makes slightly more than Bubba, but his net worth is stuck at $226,000 because he's constantly buying foreign luxury cars and expensive suits just to look the part. All right, Section 3, the millionaire next door. Who actually are they? Well, the answer might completely surprise you. When I first looked at this data, I was absolutely fascinated. Notice how the Russian and Scottish ancestry groups just completely dominate the millionaire concentration ratios here. You know, you'd probably think the English ancestry group would be number 1, right? Considering they were early arrivals. But nope, they actually rank 4th. Russian Americans are heavily concentrated in business ownership, and that entrepreneurial spirit just translates across generations. But I really want you to look at the Scottish ancestry group right up there near the top. The data reveals that these specific demographic groups overperform economically not because of old money or trust funds, but because of a deeply ingrained culture of thrift and self-employment. The Scottish ancestry group really stands out here. Get this, more than 60% of their millionaires have annual household incomes of less than $100,000. I mean, how do they even do it? Well, they live in a self-designed environment of relative scarcity. They purposefully consume way, way below their income level, which means they are able to save and invest massively. Which brings us to Section 4. Frugal, frugal, frugal. the affluent lifestyle. These are really the three words that truly define the affluent American. The media absolutely loves to hype up athletes and celebrities dropping $50,000 on a pair of shoes. But look at the reality in these numbers. 50% of the millionaires surveyed have never, paid more than $399 for a suit, or more than $140 for a pair of shoes, or $235 for a watch. The typical self-made millionaire isn't out there buying custom bespoke suits on Savile Row. Nope, they are proudly wearing JCPenney's Stafford Executive line, simply because it's durable and it gets the job done. Okay, even more shocking is their choice of credit cards. If you close your eyes right now and picture a millionaire's wallet, you're probably seeing a shiny Amex Platinum or a Neiman Marcus card, right? But look at the actual data here. Status brands are completely dwarfed by everyday utilitarian accounts. A millionaire household is literally 4 times more likely to hold a Sears card than a Brooks Brothers card. They are prioritizing function and everyday value over showing off high social status.
Now for Section 5, playing financial defense. See, making a high salary is really just playing offense. But if you actually want to keep your wealth, you've got to play defense. Take Mrs. Rule, for example. She's a modest auctioneer with a $2 million net worth, and she plays absolutely incredible defense.
So let me ask you, does your household operate on an annual budget? Mrs. Rule answers yes to this, and so do most prodigious accumulators of wealth. In fact, for every 100 millionaires who don't budget, there are 120 who meticulously do. They sit down and plan their consumption spending across food, clothing, and shelter every single year. It takes serious discipline, kind of like staying physically fit. And do you know how much your family spends each year on those basics? Nearly 2/3 of millionaires know this exact number. They tabulate their expenditures down to the dollar. Meanwhile, your typical high-income earners, the ones making 200 grand a year but totally stuck on the earn and consume treadmill, they have absolutely no idea where their domestic spending actually goes. They're so obsessively focused on minimizing their tax burden that they completely ignore tracking their own daily household consumption. Also, do you have a clearly defined set of daily, weekly, monthly, annual, and lifetime goals? Financially independent people are generally happier because they visualize those future goals. They're thinking about funding a grandchild's education or building a rock-solid retirement, rather than just seeking immediate gratification through some luxury purchase today. They definitely don't want to spend their last dollar the day they die. They want that incredible peace of mind that comes from long-term security. Do you spend a lot of time planning your financial future? For every 100 millionaires who answer no to this, nearly 200 will enthusiastically answer yes. And the research highlights this hilarious yet kind of tragic contrast. Under-accumulators of wealth actually spend 3 times more hours jogging per month than they do planning their investments. True millionaires, on the other hand, carve out major dedicated time to managing their resources, and they lean on their professional expertise to make really smart, informed investments. Which brings us to the final question. Are you playing the game to look rich or to actually be rich? We'll leave you with this final provocative thought. Building wealth takes discipline, it takes sacrifice, and it takes hard work. It's really not always glamorous. So, are you going to stay on that exhausting treadmill of high consumption just to impress the neighbors with a big hat and no cattle? Or will you embrace the math, control your spending, and become the true millionaire next door? The choice is entirely up to you.